Well, hello, good evening, everybody. It's Andrew Judd here, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar put together by our President of the National Association of Funeral Directors, John Adams. We're looking at the importance of adding death, dying and bereavement to the national curriculum. And in week 5 of my new role as the CEO of the National Association of Funeral Directors, I'm really pleased to be able to support this important mission and message surrounding the work of funeral directors. John feels very passionately about this, and I think funeral directors all across the land will understand the importance of being able to relate to and talk to funerals, whether it's funerals of children or families with children in that experience bereavement. So it's a really important space. And as John is our national president, I'm delighted to be able to support you through the NAFD to share the message. One point of housekeeping, if I may, you will have some questions, I'm sure, and we'd really like you to ask them. But if you could wait until the end of the presentations and then ask them. But we really appreciate you taking time out from your evening to join us. And I'm now going to hand over to John Adams. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm just going to try and share my screen now. Before I begin, just checking you can all see that on your screens. Yeah. You all see that okay? Oh, so that's a yes. Second. So that's fine. Okay. So good evening to you all, and thank you all for joining this discussion tonight. I feel very honoured and humbled to talk to you about something that means so much to me, and something so close to me. Thank you, Andrew, as well for your introduction. I feel very lucky to be working alongside you, and having you on board now to see this move forward again is a real strength for us. So to clarify then, this is a discussion on adding content on death, dying and bereavement into the national curriculum. So my story then. So firstly then, this isn't a sob story at all. This is about how this is all began. My inspiration in what I do daily in arranging funerals and looking after families who are suffering a loss is my mum, Maria. So she is my fuel. And I lost my mum when I was 12 years of age. And as I put in the text there, at school, it was quite an isolating time. I was very fortunate that my dad was very honest with me about what was going to happen to her. And that enabled us, my sister and I, to have conversations with my mum, which I don't think some people have with their loved ones who are going to die. So I was very fortunate from that point. But from a school point of view, as I mentioned on BBC, the communication really was non-existent. And as I mentioned, I'm not bitter by that at all. That's how things were. And from what I'm learning, that's how things still are in lots of places. There are some schools now who are doing some great work, and that's really important to point out. That some schools in the UK are doing what we're suggesting, but the vast majority have nothing in place. So arranging funerals as well and conducting funerals, I believe very much about empowering families and how we involve children into funerals, and that doesn't mean always involving them. It's just making them aware they can be involved in a funeral service and in those arrangements in as much detail or as little as they feel comfortable. So that's my background really. And then with the role as NAFD president, it's just all come to a point really where this felt like a very natural progression and something that needed to happen. It became apparent as well that empowering people at the funeral service is almost it works, but actually having the conversations a lot earlier can be so much more powerful. And that's what this initiative's all about, really, empowering youngsters to allow us all to live better lives. So who this will help them? It will help the individual who loses somebody. So that child in school, it will make them aware that they are not on their own. Um, the class friends as well. It will help them give some understanding to what their friend's going through who's suffering a loss. So we can instill compassion and empathy into classrooms all over the United Kingdom. Um, Also, as well, teachers are already under immense pressure in classrooms all over the UK. So this is about how we support teachers by giving them tools in knowing how to communicate to their students and pupils. And then, as I mentioned already, the outcome of this is a more positive and kinder society, more aware of each other, of what people are going through. And for me, it's a case of let's get behind that. We have a great opportunity here. Um, it's also important to point out as well, these tools that will be taught at a young age to children, um, you know, the the best scenario is that you don't suffer a loss at a young age, but actually these tools will see you through the rest of your lives as well. So, as I mentioned on the BBC, you have adults now that still not sure what to say to their friends and colleagues, and some people prefer to cross the road and have a conversation. So it's about giving the tools at a young age, which will enable them to have communication and conversations as they get older and throughout life. It's important to say as well, these conversations, it's not about discussing a funeral service, it's to discuss the emotions and feelings that are associated with a loss. And as I put before, this is about in every school in the United Kingdom, not just relying on proactive teachers or affluent schools. This is about giving everyone that same opportunity to learn about something that will affect us all. So the facts then around this. So this is just like finger in the air stuff. This is actually, these are the facts, and this is from Child Bereavement UK. So 1 in 29 children and young people aged 5 to 16 have experienced the death of a parent or sibling. That's at least one in every classroom. A parent of children under 18 dies every 22 minutes in the UK. That equates on average 111 newly bereaved children every day in the UK. 78% of 11 to 16-year-olds said they have suffered a close loss. So that last 78% stat there, it's important to say that as well because this can be focused on losing a parent, but actually it can also fall into losing an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, and a grandparent is more likely to happen whilst you're younger as well. And it also ties into even losing a pet. And actually can be a sort of a more softer way in actually having these conversations as well, and something that can have deep effects on people losing a pet if it's part of that family unit. So those are the actual facts and figures here and data, not just what we think, and we're not just being getting emotional over this. There's actual detail on this. So then, what are we trying to achieve? So, persuading the government to make bereavement education a mandatory part of the personal, social, health, and economic, that's a PSHE, education curriculum in schools. Encourage partnerships between schools, bereavement charities, and educators that are experts in PHSE lesson planning. Support teachers, what can often be a very difficult time for them. So, as I mentioned before, this isn't about putting teachers under more pressures. It's about trying to create a more positive classroom for them. And you think, well, how's that possible? But actually, if children are able to express themselves in a more positive way, then the results are more positive. If you suppress those feelings and communication, the outcome it will not be positive. And I know that from personal experience as well. Sadly, for my experience, the way I dealt with it was actually to get away from school. I had as much time off as possible because I felt uncomfortable being there. I felt embarrassed for my friends who weren't able to talk about it. I thought, you know what, let's just get out of here. The best thing for everyone, really. And that's really sad. And it can be so much better. You can't make it not sad, but it can be better and all together. Respect and work with the needs of different faith groups and communities. So this is also really important. It's not about showing disrespect to religious groups at all. Um, from my tutoring, the diploma, it's highlighted to me about how certain religions and they have female service processes, which can really help people with their grief and bereavement. So, and that's positive. Like Muslim faiths that have real strict procedures in place. Um, and that close community, which can be really, really helpful. But actually, before any religion or any culture, even though that's around you every day, there's still going to be emotions and feelings around this. So it's about how we show respect to these religions and cultures, but we still tackle emotions and feelings that surround a death, regardless of who you are and what your situation is. So the next part here is in order to create safe spaces and a supportive environment at school for children who lose someone they love. Um, so as well as the importance of knowing that individual is not on their own with their loss, it's as important for their friends to know what that person's going through. As I mentioned, we can instill compassion and empathy in classrooms all over the UK, and that will spill over into society as well. So the outcome can be so positive for all. Help their teachers and friends know how to support them. As I've mentioned, that ties into that really. It's about how we work together and be more positive to each other and kinder to each other. Excuse me. Equip a next generation to feel more comfortable discussing the end of life. So again, it's about how we normalize death um, and make it more part of the way we live. And I really believe that if we have a better understanding of death, suddenly having a Bugatti or Lamborghini isn't the priority in life. It's about how we treat people every day, being kind to each other. That can then become a priority, and all these other things which we've made to feel now that should be what we go out for every day to go and get. Actually, let's bring it back, and actually, how we treat people is the priority. So, campaign to date then. The petition launched in October last year when I was actually in Baltimore, and currently 80% of the way to a government response. So that's that number there, 8128. It's now, I think it's around 8,250 now, which is really, really positive. Excuse me here. So I'm kicking off here. And local MP Philip Dunn, he's been fantastic, and I'd like to say now as well, he's been a real support with this initiative. He spoke initially at Parliament on the matter, and it's been instrumental and very influential in Parliament. So a big thank you to him in raising it initially. NAFD, other funeral sector organisations, and the UK's bereavement charities are back in the campaign as well. So again, we're gaining support now from lots of areas throughout the United Kingdom to get behind this. We promoted it extensively on social media and in the press. What's been interesting as well on social media, since this started, we've seen a lot of people come out and discuss what happened to them when they were younger. And what I'm seeing and what we're all seeing is a lot of grief online. People who may feel bitter about the way what happened to them when they were younger, and they're seeing this now as an opportunity to really make things better for the future. Celebrities are also starting to come on board now as well, which is fantastic. Ollie Ollerton, he put a piece on social media recently about this, and he's been to see me about it as well. He really believes in this. He feels this is giving youngsters resilience and actually helping them build stronger young people to see that again back to see them through the rest of their lives rather than adults who are struggling. So his view is very much about building the youngsters up. I'm now in touch as well with the Right Honourable Nick Gibb, MP, Minister for Schools. I've got a letter here from him as well to me, And I'll just give you an idea of the ending of the letter. It states the department would welcome the NAFD's comments and inputs when we consult over the RSHE statutory guidance in 2023. So the Minister for Schools, the Right Honourable Nick Gibb MP, is very much open for discussion. And again, hopefully today we'll have more support from all of you who are watching this. So far then, we've had communication, and I've been involved in talking with crews. I've done articles for them and Child Bereavement UK. Winston's Wish been very proactive. There's communication with charities such as At a Loss. I've spoken at the BIE event, their education weekends. That was last year. The start of the year, I spoke on BBC Breakfasts along with the Leith family. There's a nice picture of Imogen there and her very special mum, Kerry. I'd like to thank their family again online now just for everything they've done. They are the example of that empowerment and being brave in communication. So yeah, it's fantastic to work alongside them in putting this out more into the public domain. I've spoken on Radio 4, Radio 2, and that's created conversations with the likes of Michael Rosen, who's an author and has experienced it at first-hand loss. And as I mentioned, Ollie Ollerton as well. He'll be speaking at my conference on May the 20th about this again and about empowerment. I was also very fortunate to speak at Buckingham Palace to His Majesty the King, and I was able to talk to him about the petition and about the initiative. And again, he received it in a very positive way. I think, again, from his family's point of view, they've experienced it at first hand and what can happen. So it was a real huge honour to discuss it with him. Also, I mentioned as well, I've recently spoken to Jason Watkins, the actor, and a video will be released soon. But on the next slide here, I'll just show a sneak preview of the video to give you a taste of what we discussed. And yeah, hopefully this will give you an idea. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, John. We have no sound.
Ah. Moment. Let's try it again. There we go. I'll try this now.
But something like bereavement is something that is common across everyone's experience. And, you know, grandparents die typically, don't they, when children are at school. And so there is that to think about. And, you know, some families will deal with it better than others. But, you know, there are things that we know about being able to talk about it, try and share your feelings.
Yep.
Simply talking about it and offering help to others, you know, that's something that's quite simple to talk about. And you can talk about other countries and how they look at death. You know, I'm a great believer, you know, that if you're strong enough that, you know, death is part of life and it doesn't have to be in your consciousness all the time, but it very much is. And you have, you know, I was thinking the other day that, you know, I'm 60 now and I'm going to pass away at some point, not, you know. So what's my attitude to that? what am I going to do? I'm going to be running away from it. Or am I, you know, I'm less scared of death itself since my own daughter died, and I hope I have a sort of responsible attitude towards it, and you know that I'm far less scared of it. And if I were to start drifting away, you know that you know, it wouldn't be something that would scare me, and I think that's important to translate to my children. You know that because they'll be scared of the loss, etc. But something like.
Thank you all for that, and sorry about the technical issue there, live TV and all that. So the next steps then, and I hope I find that interesting as well. We had a long chat, a 20-minute video that will come out in the next week or so, and it was really empowering talking to Jason about his loss of his daughter, her name was Maud, who was only 2.5 years of age, and she passed away of sepsis on New Year's Day. So yeah, we spoke in depth about his views and why he's backing this as well, and he thinks it's a great opportunity, as he said there, to make death more part of life. So that'll be released in the next few days. So the next steps then, working with partners in the end of life and bereavement sector. So to continue raise awareness amongst more MPs, those who are on this call tonight, again, thank you for joining this call. I know you're all busy people, but if you have time to write to your MPs in your area, it will really help apply more pressure to Parliament about why this is so important. The petition as well will allow us the conversation with Parliament. So we're very close to that now. So thank you again for engaging and sharing. Engage the Department for Education and Education Select Committee in dialogue. So myself, Rachel Bradburn, Deb Smith, and Rebecca from NAFD and our new CEO will be discussing this in more detail soon about exactly what we're going to present to them. But I'll give you some more information on that in a moment as well. Pursue more media coverage to keep the story in the news. I've been invited onto ITV News at the end of February, so you'll see my face back on TV. Apologies in advance about that. I can't say I enjoy it, but it's needed, and that's why I will continue to fight for this. And they're going to do a mini series about bereavement and grief and the feelings around loss, so it ties in nicely with what we're doing. So that's a great opportunity again to really bang the drum. And the final point here is work with bereavement charities and specialists to promote and develop information for school teachers and governors. Again, it's about working as a collective to really push this forward and not trying to do it as an individual. This is about everyone getting behind this. So how you can get involved. So firstly, if you haven't signed the petition yet, if you need convincing after this call, even after the technical issues, my plea is to please sign. And if you're able to share it on your social media platforms, on your websites, or just email your colleagues, that would be a huge help. My plea would be is if you could send it directly to say 5 to 6 people, people you can rely on who also want to make a positive influence on society. And by tomorrow morning, we could be at 9,000 people. As I mentioned as well, if you're able to write to your local MPs explaining how this will help, and there'll be a template letter in the chat for you all to use if you have the time to do that. Talk to your local bereavement charities and try and get them on board. We need to show everybody this is for everyone. Again, not just an NAFD tool. This isn't about us. This is about the wider society and how we make society kinder. And the last point here is find out what the schools in your area are doing. So great case studies, question mark. It could also be a case of they have nothing in place. So it's just evidence. It's more data for us to use, and Parliament like data. So there is the QR codes, and let's keep the conversation growing. Let's keep it moving forwards. And already in the press now, in the nation, conversations are growing around death. So that's a positive. And it's just something that said on BBC recently. I want to give children tools of support and offer advice in the same way pupils learn about sex and relationships education in schools. And we teach children about what happens at the start of life, so why not teach them what happens at the end as well? And again, just to reinforce the message again, it's about the feelings and emotions that are associated when we lose someone we love. I was questioned earlier on about, is this not going to cause unnecessary sadness to young people? My argument with that would be that children are already seeing death on their TV, in the stories they read and watch on TV. There's a few examples there. And so what I'd say is, for example, Lion King, when Simba loses his dad, we're going to just pause and then just go through how do we think he's feeling. There's elements of guilt. He feels like it's his fault. There's sadness. There's a whole thing. There's a whole load of emotions going on there. And then, but actually, we press play again. Look what he goes on to achieve and do, and that's about him taking his dad with him, and that's what we do in life as well. My mom, who's my fuel now, she's helping me every day. So it's about, physically, yes, we lose that person, but from an emotional point of view, they are still with us as we move forward. Also, as well, I went to Parliament before Christmas, and it was raised there that the conversations should happen at home rather than schools. That was from a research event I went to. I did put my I put my thoughts forward to say that that is the ideal situation, but actually, a lot of adults, and the majority of adults, aren't able to have the conversations themselves. They're preferring to cross the street rather than having the conversation with their friends. So we can't rely on adults to have these conversations and families to have them. We need the proper support, a safe, controlled, measured environment to have the conversations. And actually, I think it will take 2 generations for the conversations to happen at home frequently. Yes, there are some families that are able to have these conversations already, like there are already some schools having these conversations already. But actually, we need a net across the whole United Kingdom. Let's give everyone the opportunity to have this. Also, as well, some families are broken now. They're broken families, so it's not as easy as saying just have the conversations at home. So I just thought I'd put that in there for you all as well, to let you know that we are looking at this stuff. We are aware of the other sides of the discussion, but actually it needs to be at the source in the classrooms. So that's a nice time now to bring you on to my colleague and friends, Annabelle Shaw from Project Eileen. She will talk to you about what their current model looks like. They currently have their lesson plans in some secondary schools in the UK, and Annabelle will discuss about how that's been received in a real positive way. I mentioned secondary school. That's their current model. They are looking to widen their reach to further ages than just secondary school. I have been asked about what do I think is the youngest age. I've had parents who have children 5 years of age come to me saying this would have really helped them. What I'm saying at this stage is, let's not put a limit to it. If it's age appropriate, safe learning at this stage, then let's not limit. Let's just keep the conversation moving forwards, and let's just make it compulsory at this stage. So I will quieten down now for a moment, and I'll hand you over to Annabelle Shaw. Thank you, Annabelle. Is Annabelle there?
Am I here? Are you going to put me on?
There you go. So,
can you see me now? I'm spotlighted. Okay.
There you go.
I know I can go. Slightly old photo, I'm afraid. Anyway, hello everybody, and thank you very much, John, for giving me the opportunity to talk about the Project Eileen programme. So we founded Project Eileen, myself and my colleague Louise Poffley, to provide schools with the means to proactively teach young people the life skills they need to deal with bereavement, death and grief, whether it affects them now or in their future lives. And our aims are very much aligned with those that John has just been discussing, the idea of addressing the stigma, of normalising the topic of death, of addressing the loneliness that young people feel by giving their friends the tools so that they know how to help, what to say, to foster resilience. All of those things are so important, and that's one of our main aims of our programme. So obviously we fully support John's efforts to make this subject compulsory in schools. So the full Project Eileen programme consists of 6 lessons. And it provides comprehensive resources, including the detailed lesson plans, the PowerPoint presentations, the printable worksheets, and really crucially, information about support organisations that students and young people can turn to if they need very specific help about grief and bereavement, and how they can ask for that help. And again, as John was saying, we don't want to burden teachers, so we have made it as detailed as possible. It's not a subject that a lot of teachers feel necessarily that they're comfortable in dealing with. So obviously we wanted to make sure that they didn't have any questions, although obviously we're also open to any issues and dialogue with schools that are putting the programme into place. The material itself is accessible to students and it is age appropriate. And as John said, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. So central to the programme is a story called Eileen, which is about a group of teenagers and their school community and how they handle the death of a friend. And this story is presented to the students in the first lesson. And then in the lessons that follow that, wherever possible, we base the discussions and conversations on the story. And this is very important because it means that students who have been bereaved don't feel they have to talk about their personal experience unless they want to, but also that students don't feel they can't make a comment because they haven't experienced bereavement themselves. So this story can be presented in different ways, as a narrated animated film or in a student-led performance, or even creatively as part of a workshop version. But as I said, that's the point that all the lessons kind of hang from, that develop from. So we then move on to the language of death and grief, and this not only covers the words we use for death, but also ways to express emotions and ideas of what to say to someone who has been bereaved, which is something that people struggle with so much. Lesson 3 then gives students a deeper understanding of grief itself and how everybody's experience will be different. Lesson 4 explores ways that they can help themselves and others, ideas of things that they can do, how they might like to remember somebody, the point of memorials, all of that information so they can actually help themselves with the grief to help get through that crucial and acute stage and allow grief to become part of their lives. Lesson 5, which is very pertinent to the current audience, explores the reasons why we have funerals and wakes, and also deals with more practical sides of things, what happens after somebody dies.
Oh. Annabelle has frozen. Okay, Jane, can you still hear me, Jane?
Yeah, I can hear you, John. I think it's Annabelle's internet.
Okay. What I'll do now, let's just see if she comes back on. Just give her a moment. That was really interesting as well. Okay. What we'll do now, I'll just share my screen again. It's a shame that she's gone because that was really interesting. And share my screen. And from current slide. So again, I think the idea is that it's safe learning. That's what Annabelle was discussing there. And I'll try and get a recording sent out as well of further information about the work they're doing. The key area of this, though, it's about taking the pressure off teachers and how we support them. But I hope what she did say is giving you an idea of what the work they're doing. There's a variety of different lesson plans available, which they already have in some schools in the UK. So we are on track and we are on time, and it's really important now. I've just had a quick look at some of the comments on the chat, and it's really great to see that interaction. So let's open it up now. We've got time. we value your thoughts and views, and as I said throughout this is about everyone working together to achieve the overall goal. So let's open it up now, questions and ideas, and any areas for us to take away would be really helpful as well. So if you put your raise your hands, and then we can then go to your question and go from there. And before that, though, before questions, once again, if I can just push again about and bang my drum a bit louder, please remember to sign up, and if you can, share tonight with 5 or 6 people. If you've already done that, my request in a very polite way is, can you do it again, because tomorrow morning we'll then be at 9,000 signatures, and I'll be able to get some rest at night, stop checking my phone, and that pleases my wife. So anyway, I will come off that now and stop sharing the screen. Oh, stop sharing. And what we'll do now is go over to questions. So over to you. Any questions at all then, please? Okay, how do I see the questions, Jane?
I'm going to spotlight Malcolm Flanders. Bear with me.
Okay, thank you. So if you can remember to unmute yourselves as well, please, when you ask your questions. We've got time for questions, so don't feel rushed at all. Whilst Malcolm comes on there, so Michaela Stafford's, can you send out an email with the link for us to post on our social channels? Yes, certainly. We'll have your details. We can send these on to you afterwards. That's brilliant.
Sorry, there we go.
Okay. Your team have disabled the ability to use microphones in the chat. Okay, Malcolm. You're on mute, Malcolm. You're on mute.
No, it's me, John. Bear with me. Sorry. There we go.
Malcolm. There you go. Try again, Malcolm. It's saying it's unable to use. So allow mic. There you go. Oh. Okay, I'll go for some more questions. If you stay there, Malcolm, whilst Jane tries to fix you, I'll read some of the questions on the sides. Hi, John, it's Louise Poffley here. Just to let everyone know that the register for the Project Eileen project, so the website for Project Eileen is on the side there as well. So have a look at their websites. Julia has petition, etc., been shared with many hospices, child, young people, and adults bereavement services, such as Association, the Palliative Care, social workers. I can't believe they wouldn't support this. Yes, it has been shared in different groups all over the UK. It's taken time to get through, and since the BBC News piece, there seems to be a shift in the conversation, and people kind of get it now. So it appears to be growing now, and people are starting to understand. Alexander, all FDs could get behind. Get bereavement services to sign and share the petition. That'd be wonderful, Alexander. So yeah, thank you so much. If you can please share it with as many people as you can, that'd be great. Ryan, I've been listening to the webinar whilst driving between offices. If you could email any resources, yeah, that'll all be done for you, Ryan, as well. That'll be shared out. Jane Anderson, if I could also have the link, yeah, that'll be shared. All mics have been disabled by the hosts. Jane, can you
enable? They haven't. It's Malcolm's mic, I think.
Okay. Aurora, I'm 23, you see, and would love to be there for young people, youth. As often young people aren't seen associated with death. Yeah, I agree. I think, it's about how we take it more seriously as young people. So yeah, and again, the tools at a younger age will just naturally help with this. There's still a little disabled symbol next to his mic. I don't think it can be disabled. Okay, that's fine. I'll keep going through the questions. Debbie, are you in contact with Luna? charity doing great work supporting CYP when a parent dies. Yes, I've been in touch with Luna, and I think if we haven't spoken, we're due to speak. But the idea is all these charities, Debbie, will come together, and it's about how we feed it all in and try and use the NAFD as the sort of platform and the centre points to then push it all forward. Malcolm. Thank you so much, John. My question was, assuming you get the success with the petition, will you and NAFD groups continue to talk about this with the media going forwards? I think it must be yes. Yeah, totally agree. As part of the NAFD's 5-year plan is about the nation's relationship with death. So the media is as uncomfortable as I find it, it's often the best way, and that's what I've found. So yes, we must continue the conversations. We can't let this go now. We have a great opportunity, and I think whilst we get this through, let's all keep talking about this. As I keep saying, this isn't mine, this is ours. Thank you, Malcolm. Brian, what are FDs doing voluntary to help educate people in their community? So many funeral directors are doing great work in the UK, going into schools, talking, but like some schools are teaching about this, some FDs are as well. But we can't rely on good funeral directors to do this and to spend their time in schools. If we can, the more that happens, the better. But the key, again, how I see it, is mandatory sessions and net across the whole network. Then everyone is covered. No one is missed. But I agree, the more communication we can have in schools by the funeral profession, and again, what I've been banging a drum about since I became president is about how we are perceived in society, and actually, the role we have, how important it is. People actually understand what we're doing. We are on the front line. We're going into nursing homes when there's COVID in there, and to be taken a bit more seriously in society. So yeah, thank you for that. Good point there. Thanks, Brian. Gemma Johnson, I'm very open with my children, age 5 and 7, but know many parents who don't feel the same way. What are your plans to overcome the objections from parents who don't want their children spoken to in an honest way about death and dying? So firstly, well done. And as I said, some people are doing what you're doing, Gemma. I think the key is, though, it's about how we instill confidence into society. Let's show parents what Annabelle was doing before she was cut off, unfortunately. It's about how we instill confidence into society. So we need to show parents that there's nothing fearful about this. There is some bravery required, but actually the outcome can be so positive. So again, the more media we do, the more talking we do, the more confidence we instill. So thank you, Gemma. And well done as well. It's all mics. Yeah, I think we've got that one. Stephen Hall. Hi, I'm a facilitator for Suicide Bereavement Group here in Ireland, and I'm so impressed with what you're doing. Are you also thinking of bringing suicide bereavement into the curriculum? So there is a petition at the moment about suicide awareness. I do intend to reach out to those guys who are doing amazing work. I didn't want to sort of appear that I was piggybacking on what they're doing, though. But a conversation together is the natural way to go, because it all ties in. And even discussing the emotions about how we feel when we lose somebody, it will have knock-on effects to suicide as well. Hopefully, the young men at the moment, the rise in suicide, hopefully it can have an effect in showing people, don't do this. There are other opportunities, there are other ways out of this other than that. So yeah, thank you, Stephen. I think it's a great opportunity. K White, hi K. John, can we poach Project Eileen material? You don't need to poach it, they'll give it to you. I like to do presentations in local schools as an FT. Yeah, there's a link above, K, to their website, and you don't need to poach it. They're happy to share. Karen Codd. Karen, hi Karen. Have you linked with Two Wish, a charity in Wales? I'm sure Rianne from their CEO would support. I'm pretty sure I've already spoken to that charity as well. Lots are coming through now since the national news piece. So again, we're just keeping the conversation going. I'm taking all their details down, and then we're going to get together and really push it all forwards. And chat saying only selected participants can unmute. I did try and do that. It didn't allow us to do it. I'm not sure if it's a setting. Live webinar, but next time. But thank you, Hayley. Sorry, Anne. Hayley, we have members of the BIFT education team going into schools in Hampshire to discuss this. Colleagues too. Again, as previously said, it's wonderful. That's fantastic. But let's put a net across the whole UK. Let's not just rely on individuals or having it in selected areas. Let's give every child the opportunity to have this conversation. But thank you so much, Hayley, and well done. Aurora, what would the process be to become a bereavement teacher, to talk to schools, events about death, dying and bereavement? Again, I think it'd be good for you to have a chat to Child Bereavement UK, who also do some amazing work, Winston's Wish, Project Eileen. So have a look on their websites and make contact with them. Or if you email me directly, I can put you in touch with them as well. So just Aurora, send me your details afterwards and I can put you in touch with people at those charities. Lucy Dennis, well done for everything you've done, John. Thank you. Using your personal experience to inspire us is brilliant. It would be great to understand if you are hoping to design a single model of support that can be used in schools across the UK. Was your idea to better equip people to have these conversations and put their own support in place? One of the biggest problems is this inconsistency. I agree. So how do we make sure all schools have appropriate access to support, some same support and resources? So yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be some continuity and consistency in what is being taught, and that's how we will see a better outcome and positive society, because it's all consistent. So yeah, the idea is that it's all the same work going out there. But again, there needs to be some flexibility and it's age appropriate. So that's also important. There is flexibility based on the age and the individual. We are all unique. So as you'll know, so it's important that we are flexible in the approach. Sean Saunders, the IT guru, enabling microphones during webinars. I won't click on that, Sean, because I'm not sure what will happen. Should I do it? No, I won't do it yet. Hi there. Please may you also share the link with the, just one moment, just see if that's safe to do that. There you go. It's not setting. I don't think it can be disabled. So okay, either kind of leave that. Please mate. Yeah, that's your email address is there, and this chat will stay, Emily, as well, so we can send that to you as well. So thank you, Emily. Debbie, please include the Ollie Foundation in any conversations. We are a suicide prevention charity doing post-prevention education in schools. Yes, certainly, Debbie. As I say, this is about being together now, working as a collective to really achieve the goal. Shelley, thank you so much for the opening the conversation. It is so important. Looking forward to seeing you at our Coffee and Club launch. I look forward to seeing you, Shelley, as well. I think it's next week. And I look forward to talking to you all there. Thank you for inviting me. Guest, how do you think field directors are perceived by society? I think there's a mixture. I have strong feelings that during the beginning at COVID, this is going off topic slightly, but you start me off now. I'll keep it really short and sweet. During the start of the COVID pandemic, even our key worker status, it was like a challenge to get that. The NAFD worked really hard to get that. So I think we should just automatically be put amongst these groups. The banging of pots and pans on our doorsteps for key workers. I think that we should be part of that as well. We are on the front line helping people in their darkest hours. We are there at 3 a.m. helping people and genuinely taking care of people. I think there needs to be just more awareness in society about what we do. I hope that answers your question. Lee Robinson, as a father of 3 and a football club secretary for over 200 children, we have discussed this initiative and the feedback within the group is all very positive. I have yet to encounter anyone opposed to the idea. We are dealing with local teachers currently and organising groups and model to follow, develop a structure tailored to multiple ages. Really hoping things progress and evolve. Well done, Lee. You're being proactive and that's fantastic. You're going to meet some people that have issues with it because that's just life, but it's about how we show them and give them confidence that this is going to be okay. And actually having some uncomfortable conversations, sometimes the result can be so positive moving forward. But thank you so much, Lee. Ange Higgins, as an ex-teacher of 26 years, it's something that I had wanted to teach way back when. Now, as a bereavement counsellor, I am pleased it's going to finally happen. I would love to get involved with both these experiences and knowledge that I have. Ange, please get in touch with me direct and let's speak. Your experience will be really helpful. And we haven't got it yet. But we're going to get it. I'm determined we'll get it. And if we continue to work together, eventually it will naturally happen. But thank you, Ange. Donna Hastings, apologies. I might have missed this due to joining late. How will this tie in with the recommendations from the UK Commission on bereavement and other important pieces of research and recommendations from the Growing Up Grieving Project for Children and Young People in Scotland? Yeah, so we've looked at the UK Commission on bereavements. The NAFD have been involved in that as well, and obviously we're fully aware of that. So yeah, it ties into that. I believe there does tie into having conversations at home as well. But as I mentioned, I'm not sure if you saw that in the slides, Donna, what I discussed about teaching it at homes in the family rather than schools. So perhaps go that conversation offline, Donna. If you want to send me an email, be good to chat. Annabelle Shaw, I'm back here. Not sure if I can finish. We have, yes, Annabelle. We'll bring you back in a moment. Let's try and bring you back in, Annabelle, in a moment. Louise Poffley, Annabelle says her mic and camera being cut off. That's not intentional. If JB and Jane have a look at that, please, if that's possible for Annabelle. We'll also go through some more messages. Gail, grief education has been a campaign priority for Childhood Bereavement Network for many years, including our role as steering group and partner of UK Commission. Yeah, so fantastic to see many of our members on the call. We are supporting the campaign, and we've been encouraging our members to sign and share. Thank you so much. We currently have a survey out for schools asking about school staff experience on grief and bereavement. We've had a great response, but as always, keen to hear from more school staff. Well done, Gail. It's fantastic. Oh, please do share you with your contacts if you think this could support. There's a link there as well for a survey, which Gail is currently undertaking as well. So if you're able to copy and paste that link there, that'll be really useful. As I mentioned during the PowerPoints, data is power and key. Brian, apologies, need to go. I think it's an excellent initiative, and Brodie White is on board and doing much about changing the perception of funerals and taking, etc. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to have you here and have so many people on the call tonight. Andrea, there's a charity for bereaved children near me called HelloChildren'sFoundation.org, and they do outstanding work, but it would be wonderful if this could be on the curriculum. Fingers crossed, the petition's over 10,000 by tomorrow. Yeah, so again, we've got pockets. Since the BBC interview, so many people have come forward to me saying in Bury we're doing this, and Manchester and Plymouth are doing this. It's about bringing it all together now and having some consistency. And making sure that everyone receives this opportunity. And like you say, fingers crossed, tomorrow morning we're at 10,000. Donna Picken, school budgets are tight and the curriculum full, making it very difficult to ring fence time or funding for specific roles of additional lessons. I agree. Bereavement as a topic should be a mandatory as birth in biology. I support pupils at secondary schools through CBT talking therapy. Ensure schools have a sound pastoral, safeguarding team is crucial. They are the staff with the time to, I totally agree. I recently met up with a pupil I had spoken to in a previous role, and he remembered the time we had spent just talking, drawing. Yeah, it's so important. You're giving people time, and then they trust you, and you're really helping them. Again, it's about making sure that everyone receives that level. Donna, also regarding the budgets and time for teachers, Annabelle will be able to help with that, and I'm going to bring you in a few minutes before or out of time. Kay, you mentioned media site. Do you use a particular one that you have set up, or just general media? Yeah, so when I say media sites, just social media. All platforms are helpful. Different people on different platforms, and obviously going on ITV, that'll be a real help as well. Malcolm, brilliant. Well done, John and team. Let's keep talking. Need to sign off. Thanks, Malcolm. All the best to you. Janice Williamson, thank you so much. This is a great idea and long overdue. We'll spread the word regarding the petition at work. Thank you so much, Janice. Jade Anderson, that sounds like a fantastic charity, Debbie. Yeah, brilliant. James Gardner, just want to say massive well done to you, John. Thank you, James. That's really kind of you. Donna Hastings. Grief education has been a campaign priority for the childhood bereavement. Yeah, I think we read this one, haven't we? Yeah, that's that same survey. Jay, thank you. Gemma Johnson, the session's got me even more passionate about making sure we talk honestly with our children. Yeah, they are more resilient than most people give credit for. I totally agree, Gemma. Helen, I can see the signatures creeping up even as you speak. Well done, John. Thank you, Helen. Admin, Annabelle is back in as presenter. Okay, we've got 4 minutes left. Let's just read Fiona's very quickly, and then we'll hand over to Annabelle. So Fiona says, I am CEO of a charity supporting people who have experienced pregnancy loss or baby loss. There are some fantastic charities supporting children through grief. I am interested how we could equip teachers with tools to support children who have experienced a sibling death during pregnancy of after birth. This is an encouraging development education. Thanks. Yeah, Fiona, totally with you. And I think it all ties in. I mentioned before about suicide awareness as well. This is the whole thing. And actually, like you say, there's so many different facets to this. But let's just start the conversation and let's open it up. Let's open the conversation channels up and let's see where we can take this, because it's really exciting, because the outcome can be so positive. We have 3 minutes. Annabelle is back. Annabelle,
Right.
over to you.
Okay, I'm not sure where I left off, but I'm just going to say a few crucial things. Firstly, in response to the teacher that was talking, it is 6 lessons. However, it's also really easily adaptable. So and we believe it's so important to cover that you could just show the story of the that we're basing the information and the discussion on, and maybe just 1 or 2 follow-up lessons just to get that conversation started in schools. And the other thing to say really importantly is that Project Eileen program is free. All that schools need to do is register on our website, and we give them access to all the materials. So we are so aware that budgets are so very, very tight. And then just quickly, I wanted to talk about the reason why we've started aiming the material at 13 to 15-year-olds, and that is basically because where do you start? This age group is one that is keen to start talking about the things that are affecting their lives, the things that are happening in their lives. They want to have those discussions. They are able to start having those grown-up conversations. So and the other thing is that they rely on peer support much more so than younger children who still rely more on adults. So we need to give them the tools with which to help their peers at this time when they're being bereaved in schools, to stop the loneliness, to stop that horrible feeling of not knowing who's going to talk to you. But we do feel that the subject needs to be covered across the school age groups, and we do plan to expand our scope when we can. So I suppose the only other thing is to say that we've had incredibly positive feedback from teachers and schools that have already used the Project Eileen program, and they have all continued to use it as part of their PSHE program. So they're that happy with the materials. We've had really positive comments from students. I was going to read a quote from a student, but it's quite long, so I won't do that. But suffice it to say that we've had some really good ones in there. So, and receiving all that positive feedback just confirmed to us that we were right to believe that these topics, the topics of bereavement, death and grief, do need to be taught in schools. And indeed, they need to be made compulsory.
Annabelle, thank you so much. We're about to approach 6 o'clock now.
Okay.
And that's a great time to say thank you all for joining this this call this evening. We intend to carry out another one later in the year to update and go for the next stages. And just, yeah, a huge thank you. As I keep saying, this is about everyone being behind this and pushing it forwards. So thank you for your time. I'll go through your comments as well and all your chat feeds. It's fascinating, and thank you for your interaction. I'll put my email address in there as well. Any further questions, make contact with me direct. I'll be really interested to hear from you. And just once again, thank you so much and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.